Manny Putz, welcome to the Callroom Road to Balboa. How you doing this afternoon, man?
I'm doing amazing in Wisconsin. Nice weather and just a good day.
Right at about 3 minutes ago, just in. Let me just triple check so I don't make a fool out of myself, just in case it was different.
Are you
Wisconsin
good?
won the Big Ten championships. They scored 46
Yes.
points, winning by 12 points. This is a team you're going to join in less than a year, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. How excited are you about this?
I'm stoked. I know college is another level. It's the next level. It's the one of the biggest levels for all high schoolers because thinking about from middle school to high school, some of the athletes were probably already like top 5 on their team. Going from high school to college, it's not that. It's pretty rare that even if you are a state champion, moving to college, you're going to be redshirting most likely. And so it's cool to see how competitive college is, and especially Madison, and that's one of the reasons why I picked them. But it's just exciting to see that soon I will be running against those elite athletes.
Obviously, Wisco has a long history of success within the sport of running. It kind of got shaken up though this past year with the new changes to the Big Ten, schools like Oregon and Washington, which are
Yes,
historically some of the best programs in the country, joining. Does that
right.
excite you, or is it like, shoot, maybe I can't win a Big Ten title every single time out?
There's a saying like if you're entering a room and you're the best one in the room, then you're in the wrong place. So, yeah, maybe winning um sounds amazing, but it's kind of nice that we'll be challenged even more now. There's going to be even more competition because that will only just push us to be even faster. Um, but yeah, I feel like a lot of us high schoolers have already had that feeling of winning, maybe, and now college is that time to just always be challenged 24/7, and we're definitely gonna get humbled a lot with just the amount of competition now in college. But I think it's gonna be a good thing. Maybe some people see it as a bad thing, just because it's just so competitive. But I don't know. I kind of like that competitiveness.
You're obviously one of the top kids in your class, making you one of the top recruits. So I imagine you could have gone really anywhere you wanted. What made Wisco stand out to you that made you want to join them? And what was the decision specifically to stay in state? I think that's something we don't see a lot of top runners do.
Right. There's a lot of factors that played into my decision, but a couple of the big ones was the location. I don't know. I love Wisconsin so much. The place here is amazing. I love our 4 seasons. When it's summer, it's really hot. When it's winter, it's really cold, and I just like the change. So just the atmosphere in Wisconsin is amazing. Another thing is I thought the team culture here was literally top tier. I love team cultures out of anything. I respect team bonding, how people treat each other over um, athleticism. So I think Madison had the best athletes, the nicest athletes. Granted, all these other colleges had really super sweet athletes too, but I felt like Madison just cared about each one, each of their athletes individually, and the athletes treated each other kindly, and they had game nights. They were hanging out with each other, communicating really well. And when I went on my visit to Madison, I had such a blast, and we were just talking the whole time, hanging out, and it just felt like a family. And even though I was only there for 2 days for a visit.
Coach McBurn, I think is how you say his name, legend in the sport. He's coached many people to
Yep.
NCAA championships, Olympics. I think like unofficial NCAA records in the case of, I'm totally blanking on his name, Jackson Sharp. Am I?
Maybe I'm really bad with
Yeah.
names too. So
Okay. There was a kid I think who ran like 3:32 in the 15, but it was like outside the NCAA season, so it didn't count. Anyways, the guy's a stud. How excited are you to be under him, and what are those conversations like? Talking about your future as a Badger.
Mick has shown, obviously in the past, his knowledge for running. And when I went on my visit, I was unaware of all of this. I was unaware of a lot of things actually when I went on my visits. But now I slowly learned that Mick knows what he's doing. He's trained some elite athletes that have gone to the Olympic trials, and I know that if I want to be a pro athlete one day, maybe even attempt to go to the Olympics for the Olympic trials, he's the right person. And I think there's a lot of right people uh, that can help you to get to the Olympics or to be a pro. And I know Mick's one of those people. he also does it in a fun way. I love his accent. I love his humor. I love the way he trains. Everything about him, I love it, and I'm hoping that he stays all 4 years for my college because he's a great coach. And I'm not a guy that likes to switch with different people halfway through training or halfway through, the season. And so I'm excited to have him as my coach. I'm excited to see what horrible workouts he's got planned, and I'm excited. It's gonna be a good time.
NCAA's generally every few years falls in Wisconsin and Madison
Yes,
on, I'm blanking on the name of it, Thomas Zimmerman course. Are you going up this year to watch?
absolutely. I've already talked to my parents about it. Doesn't matter if I have school that day. I'm gonna make sure I go. Because I've never seen a college race in person yet, and so to see the national one in person is gonna be super exciting. And now that I actually like have a connection with some college people, it's just gonna make it a little more like interesting, and I'm gonna actually want to know what's going on a little bit more.
This conversation will come out after your state meet, but we're currently talking on November 1st, and tomorrow is the state meet for Wisconsin, state meet for you. You're a
Yeah.
two-time cross-country state champion. What would it mean to win a third one, add a third title? Third time's the charm.
Winning never gets old. So to win again, it would be amazing. It would also just show that I'm pretty consistent, that I have a drive to want to win it more and more. And the we've had two, I think two or three other athletes in Division One that have won state 3 times in a row, and those athletes have gone pro or even higher. And it just shows, if I'm gonna win state my third time in a row, that I'm on the right path, and I can do something pretty great in the future. Because I know some of those athletes that have won state 3 times in a row, like Chris Solinsky. He was really good in the 10K, and I hope my main event is not the 10K because that sounds awful. But it just shows that I'm on the right path to success. Hopefully, if all goes well, and yeah, it would just be amazing.
Have you thought through the celly for tomorrow, or are you a easygoing guy? I haven't seen you race in person, so I'm not sure if you're a celebration kind of guy. But if you are, what's the celly tomorrow? Is it impromptu?
I try not to plan too much about celebrations. It kind of just happens in the moment because otherwise I feel like I'm thinking too much about it. And then when I think too much about the celebration, then I'm thinking about the race. Then I'm thinking way too much in general. So what happens happens. But I'm just gonna try not to cry because pretty emotional guy, and it'll be my last time running with my high school um, Alaska jersey for cross country specifically, and it's just it's just gonna be pretty sad but happy day. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna try to stay humble as I try to do for all my races and enjoy the moment as as I cross the line.
Speaking of that consistency within the sport, it would be your third state title on the grass. You've won a handful on the track. But
Yep.
just this season, you won the Mississippi Valley Conference meet for the fourth year in a row, breaking
hmm
15 minutes. You ran 14:56. Consistency seems to be your middle name. You're successful every year in high school, it seems. What would you attribute that consistency to? And how much does that mean to you looking back that every year you've made significant strides in the sport? And every time you
Right.
go out, people can expect great things from you.
It's not an easy thing to do to stay consistent, honestly, especially when there's injuries and there's sickness. But I think it's really helpful if you can do your best to stay consistent because even like my sophomore year, I got injured for 6 months, and then I somehow just came back into cross country season with a really good opening time and was able to just get right back on track. And I think what's really helped with my consistency is that I'm an athlete that doesn't necessarily need a lot of mileage to run really good times. I think it helps that in cross country in high school it's a 5K, 3.1 miles. It's not necessarily that long. So a strong aerobic system is absolutely going to help, but we don't technically need to run 70 miles, 80 miles already. Um, there's a lot of different workouts you can do that don't involve a lot of mileage that will help you to still run really fast. And so I 100% believe that that right there has helped me to stay consistent with not getting injured because the second I try to go high mileage, like in the 40s and 50s, I just get hurt. So like right now, I'm gonna go into the state meet with 19 miles, um, and for this week, and that works with me, and my body can handle that, and yet I still can do really good workouts. So definitely lower mileage helps me staying consistent because it keeps me away from injuries. So I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do when I get to college, though, because I will definitely need to pick up mileage when I get to college.
Well, like they say, Manny, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So
Absolutely.
if you
Hopefully
win the
my
state meet tomorrow, does it really matter? I don't know.
right,
I don't think
right,
it does. Yeah,
right.
take me through the comparison aspect of this sport, where I'm sure you've seen or are friends with kids around the country who are running, just wild training. I've talked to some of them within this series, 70, 75 miles a week, and it
Yeah,
works for them.
right.
But obviously, if you were striving to have that ideal, you wouldn't even be talking about probably lining up this season. You probably would have gotten injured. How do you balance what works for you with the comparison piece of,
hmm
other people are doing more than me?
Um, I try not to compare too much because yeah, I do see some of my friends on the Nike Elite team that are running 80 miles, 70 miles, even like on the women's side they're running 60, 70 miles, and when I hear that, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I'm slacking. I need to catch up. But really, I don't need to catch up. Everyone's body is different. Their bodies probably need to go that distance in order to be at the speed they are. For me, it's the complete opposite. I need to go less miles, and but when I go less mileage, I need to work a little harder and do unique workouts that I can't even explain because my coach knows all these things. He's had 4 years to learn how my body works, and after my sophomore year, after he saw the way I was injured for so long, that's when we completely just kind of shut down, going way too high in mileage. But yeah, I've never really went over 50 miles in high school ever. Because every time I attempt it, I get seriously hurt and I have to take 2 weeks off. But the biggest thing is try not to compare to other athletes because it does look pretty cool to say, guys, I just ran 80 miles this week, and I will not be able to say that, and I should not do that for a while before I can figure out how my body can handle gradually gaining a little more miles.
As I say, consistently good beats occasionally great. Great if you ran
Yeah.
80 miles a week once, but if you're injured the rest of the season, does it really matter?
Yes.
I do want to ask you, Manny. So, I signed up for a 50K race this Sunday. We're talking about low mileage. I'm gonna take you through my last 3 weeks of training. You ready for this?
Okay. Okay.
8.39 miles, 20.3 miles, and then this week so far is 9.68. So I'll probably be at like, let's see, 15 going into Sunday. How cooked am I? Okay, this is not an injury issue. I could probably run 60 miles a week healthily. I've done it before. How cooked am I for Sunday? 31 miles.
You're telling me you ran that last week 9 miles the whole week?
Let me check my Strava again.
That
Last
it.
last week was 20, and then the week before was 12, and then the week before was 8.
I run low mileage, but that is super
Will
low.
I survive?
Especially, I don't think so. I personally don't think so.
Really?
You said that's 50 kilometers, right? So
Yeah, it's
30.
31 miles.
Oh my gosh. Heck no, you are not ready for this.
Really?
I feel
Really?
like I
Do you think
feel
I'll
like
finish?
oh,
I'm
absolutely.
100% not ready. 100% not ready. That is not the
I'm
training I
glad
do.
I'm
But
glad
will
we're
I
on the same
finish is the
page with
question.
that. I don't know if you're exactly at the spot where you could be.
Oh, well,
You
yeah.
are completely undertrained right now.
Yep.
You might feel pretty good in the beginning because you're not. I don't know. You're probably gonna take it pretty easy, but are you trying to just like go
Oh,
pretty
I'm just trying to
light?
finish it.
Just trying to
I
finish it.
literally, yeah,
Okay.
I texted two buddies and I was like, let's do this for dad lore, 50K off of like no training. So that's the mindset going in. I literally just want to finish it. A little
Yeah.
jog in the park. I don't know.
You're gonna have a good day. I don't know how you're gonna recover after. I would definitely recommend a lot of time to kind of detrain it and a lot of slow runs after. But oh my gosh,
If you're a
that
betting
you are
man, will
not
I
ready.
finish?
I'm just trying to think of what my coach would say. He was like, "Don't do that. Don't do that. What are you doing?"
If you're a
um,
betting man, what will I finish? Yes or no? I'll take no offense if you say no. I'll just remember it. Use it as fuel.
I think you got a strong mentality. I think you would finish, but
Okay.
it would be a long time. I feel like.
Uh, Okay, I'll text you on Sunday. I'll keep you posted.
All
We'll
right.
circle back on this.
This is
Going
crazy.
back to Manny's podcast, not Dominic's podcast.
Yes. Yes.
What advice would you have out there for people who struggle with the comparison piece, particularly like a middle schooler or like a freshman or sophomore, where even if you run 70 miles a week, the people I've talked to on this series who run 70 miles a week,
Yeah.
freshman year, they were only running 35, 40. It's a gradual progression to get there. So what would you say in
Right.
terms of like stay in your own lane, focus on what you're doing, no one
Yep.
else?
I would definitely tell them what my coach has been telling me for the longest time, because he obviously knows that when I see great athletes that are running 70 miles, he knows what's going on in my head. I'm think because I'll be thinking, oh, I should be doing that, right? Like if I want to be as good as them, I also have to do the exact same thing as them. And so what I would tell these younger kids is what my coach has told me. Everyone's body works differently. Sometimes you know, I think the example he said, what if I, he was saying like those athletes that run like 70 miles, if they were to, for some reason, run 30 miles, the same thing that I do, or 40 miles, the same thing that I do, they would probably just get way slower just because their body needs to go at 70. And it's this exact same thing for me. I go 30 miles. If I went to 70 miles, I'd be going way slower just because my body needs to stay at around 30 to 40. So everyone's body works a little bit differently. Everyone's body reacts to workouts and the amount of food they can eat a little bit differently. Um, so yeah, do not compare. That really throws everyone off because we're just not the same. You know, I think it's just as simple as that. Don't compare. We're not the same. Everyone's body reacts a little bit different, and if you just stay consistent, however that is for you, you'll be all right.
Off the top of your head, what are some other pitfalls or traps you see athletes commonly fall into these days that you wish they would combat and go the other way?
I think the biggest thing is kind of trusting your coach. There's been a lot of times when we do workouts, let's say coach gives you a bunch of 400s, or maybe let's just say 400s to do, but they're at really tough paces. And there's definitely been a few times when my coach has given me workout, and then the first thing that comes to my head is like, there's no way I can do that workout. How do you expect me to do that? And right there, I have doubts, and those doubts go into my workouts. And then when I don't hit that pace, I tell myself, well, it was impossible. I couldn't do that workout. It was too hard. And that right there, I wish I could go back and just tell myself, hey, there's a reason why you're doing this workout. If the coach thinks you can do it, you can absolutely do it. It's not going to feel good, but you can do it. And so there's definitely has to be a relationship with your coach. You got to trust. Trust is the biggest thing. Um, because yeah, I know I'm not the only one. I cannot be the only one that has heard a workout from the coach, and the person thinks there's no way I can do that, and then they use that in his excuse for not hitting their splits. So trusting your coach is a big thing that a lot of athletes have to face, and that can definitely get in the way with some of their workouts, and then that can lead to performance failure.
We've talked about your performances in high school, your consistency, but let's go back in time and give some context to young Manny. Take me through your start in the sport of running, kind of all the way ascending to present day, how you got to where you are currently
Okay.
as we're talking.
So to start into my running, I went to private school, St. Paul's in Alaska. We you could do track and cross country starting in fifth grade. So that's what I did. I started in fifth grade, and I just tried it out because I loved running. I have 9, 10 kids in my neighborhood, and we all just played games like zombie tag, infection, you name it. We played every game,
The
and
classics.
yeah, it was so fun. And um, while we were playing those games, we just ran a lot, as you know. And I was never really like fast twitch muscles. I never really had that, but I could just keep on running. I could keep on running and tag someone eventually. Um, and through that, my friends and my parents noticed like, hey, you can really run for a pretty long time. So that's when I tried out uh, cross country in fifth grade, and it was all just for fun. And I think like my mile time in fifth grade was 5:23, and then in sixth grade, then I tried out what was called AAU for track, and that's when I kind of took running a little more seriously because I made it to state, then I made it through regional sectionals, and I made it to nationals in North Carolina. And that's when I ran a really blazing time in the 1500 meter. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. Um, but then I think it was seventh grade, entering eighth grade. It was COVID year, or COVID was kind of hitting the U.S. and I kind of just stopped running during that time. I had no reason to run. There's no races that you could do. Everything was canceled, and to this day I wish I could go back and tell myself to keep running because I had no motivation. I was a kid. If I couldn't beat anyone in a race, I had no reason to run, and so I did take a long break from running around that time. But then I came back in eighth grade, started running again. Then I finally got into high school, and I was opened to a new world of training, uh, what a team could look like for high school. The competition was much bigger, and yeah, high school was definitely a game changer compared to my middle school.
You mentioned, and I think you're talking about this race, that blazing 1500 meters, as you put it in your own words, which
Yeah,
was 4:18.10 at 12 years old, which was the national record. What did
yeah.
that race do for you in terms of making you maybe aware that, oh, wow, I low key could be that guy at the sport of running? Maybe this is something I want to explore.
It honestly wasn't until like a few of my friends showed me the comparison of that time compared to like other people that were in my grade, even eighth graders, because I was 12 years old at the time, and they were showing me my time compared to like people in eighth grade, even like freshman college, freshman high school, and that's when I was like, oh my goodness, like that's actually a really fast time. I was so oblivious when I was running during that time. Like I had no idea like what 418 really meant. I didn't even know the translation to that in the mile, and I didn't even know what that mile time really meant. It was just a time to me, and I never compared really to anyone else until my friends started comparing it for me. My parents started telling me like, hey, you realize this is a really good time for you. I mean, I went to nationals and I really didn't think anything of it. I treated it like it was any other race, and I think that really helped. My obliviousness to everything just kind of helped me stay relaxed and calm for a lot of these races. But it definitely, after that race, it definitely set up a good path for my future, um, and it gave me a lot of confidence that I can run pretty fast in the mile, and that made the mile one of my favorite events. But I guess it was a 1500 meter, but we call it a mile here.
I think a big race that put you on the map nationally was NXN last year, where you placed fifth, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yes.
you're the top returner this year. What did that race do for you in terms of confidence of, wow, I can take my running to the next level and be dominant on a national stage?
Here in Wisconsin, we don't really get the chances to go to these really big cross country races and like fly out to like all these other races where there's um, all these really good competitors. And so I don't really get the chance to go away from Wisconsin to get better competition. And so to race at NXN with all these California, Texas, all these great athletes from those states in this on the same startup line as me for the first time, and to be a, a lot of those guys just means a lot um, because I have not ran track the previous year before NXN, and those guys had 30 seconds to 40 seconds faster times than me on the track. And to see that I could beat them on the cross country course um, just shows that, okay, maybe I'm not falling too far behind in track anymore. Um, and man, it was a great feeling. I slipped up right when the gun went off, and I was in dead last for the first 3 seconds of that race, which not a lot of people know about. But I
No, I
just think
didn't know that.
yeah, I just think it's kind of funny. I'll have to send you the video after this. But um, and for me to somehow catch back up, because it's the starting line of state champions, national champions. I mean, this is not a race where, oh, I'll just catch up to the front easily. I mean, everyone is elite on that starting line. And so for me to be able to catch up and get up to second spot and then slowly fall back to fifth, it just shows that I had a lot of grits and really was determined to win because that was my goal to get top two or three. But obviously, I was so satisfied with the fifth spot after how the race started up and how awful that course was. But yeah, it felt amazing after. I did throw up a bunch after, but it was exciting. I also noticed that I took a lot of wide turns throughout the whole race just because I was trying to go around people. And on my watch, granted it might not be accurate, showed that I ran 3.18 miles. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I ran a little extra and still got to where I did. And so that just makes me even more happy and just makes me excited again for NXN.
How much do you think, because that race put you on the map, did you feel pressure after that race for the first time? And how have you dealt with any sort of pressure you felt this year? I don't know if you look at rankings, I think they're a little bit of a
Yeah.
joke, but I have brought them up on these podcasts. You're always ranked consistently in the top 5. Do you feel pressure? If so, is it something you like? Is it something you don't like? And if so, how do you combat that?
This might sound weird, but I actually loved being the underdog in the past because no one was like expecting me to be in the top 10, hardly even. Um, but now that I'm expected to be in the top 5, well, then it's like, oh, I can't really prove anyone wrong because they already predicted I'd be in the top 5. So, um, it doesn't really change the way that I feel and think. It's just like, oh, it's not as cool anymore. Like I can't like shock everyone because they already am expecting me to be in the top 5. So, um, I don't. I try to avoid predictions. I try to avoid looking at predictions as much as possible, but it's obviously a little hard because it's all over my feed on Instagram. But it definitely doesn't really change the way I go into a race. I know a lot of people like look at it and think way too much about it, but I feel like I'm pretty calm with it. And yeah, sometimes I laugh at it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, not bad, but I don't think too much about it.
Speaking specifically on Foot Locker, you're planning on doing both as of now, and this series is telling the stories of the top boys leading into that national meet. So you were a no-brainer of someone I wanted to get on. Kind of not embracing the underdog. Yeah, you're very well known now. You're on my radar to get
Yeah,
on this series.
I
Let's
have.
talk about Foot Locker. I don't think you've ever ran the regional meet. What's your mindset going into that this year? And in your home state, my man, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yes, I actually have ran the regional meet. My
Okay.
what was it, sophomore year? Yeah, I think it was my sophomore year. I don't know if they changed the course by now, but I just know that it has a really long uphill and then really long downhill. Um, but yeah, when I went there, I didn't really go there for the right reason. I just wanted to go there to see someone and didn't really have my head in the right place. But I'm excited to go back there. I really hope that that hill is not as bad as it was last time because man, that really does kill you. And but I do like hills though because it really uh, challenges each person individually, and it really shows who wants to really win, who's willing to feel a little more pain than the other. Um, and I really think I use the advantage of the downhills a lot more than others because sometimes I just like fly down the hill. Some people like kind of like lean back and don't want to cruise down, but um, that's a really good course to take advantage of the downhills. Um, but yeah, that beginning though is very difficult. So I got to really be mentally prepared for that race.
The Midwest every year on the boys' side is absolutely stacked, and a lot of times, debatably, the regional is like just as hard as the national meet, at least in terms of winning it. Cole Mathisen, who won the national meet his senior year and did really well his junior year, but his senior year, speaking on that specifically, I want to say at the regional meet he didn't even win it. I think he placed like third or fourth, and then he comes back and he wins it. What's your
Right.
perspective on the competition and competitive level and nature of the Midwest regional in Kenosha?
Um, I bet. I mean, we deal with a lot of hills over here, and like I don't want to talk bad about California, but a lot of their races end on tracks, and a lot of them start on roads. And so I feel the reason why I feel like Midwesterns are really competitive is because we have a lot of more hills over here. So we the best word I like is grits. Like we can fight hills. We can tackle going up and down, left and right a little bit more, and I think that's a big reason why we're so competitive here in the Midwest and super aggressive. Um, yeah, we're not afraid to get some dirt on our shoes or fall down a little bit, trip a little bit. But yeah, I think our rough conditions throughout the whole season kind of just makes us a little bit tougher and a little more ready for these not so flat and not so kind of conditions.
Out of the regional meet, the national meet takes place in Balboa Park, incredibly historic park. It's where the Foot Locker meet has always taken place.
Okay.
That is infamous for the hill, which I'm sure you've heard about. What's your perspective on getting the chance to run Balboa Park?
I actually know nothing about that course. I
Really?
I actually have seen like a video, um, because I know Juan Gonzalez raced there, and we wanted to cheer him on because he's from our Heartland regional, for for NXR, and I did watch the video, and it's such an abrupt, like straight up hill, and that looked awful on video. But other than that part of the hill, I don't know anything else about that course, so it's gonna be like a uh, mystery for me on what it looks like, and I don't know what to expect. And sometimes I kind of like that, not knowing what to expect, because then I can't overthink about it, and then I should just always enter into that race prepared, because that's how you should always enter into a race, just prepared for anything, and yeah. So yeah, all in. So how bad is that hill? Because I actually don't know really anything
So
about that.
I ran up it the day before, like doing pre meet with kids, and
Yeah.
here's where you get into trouble in the sense that I didn't race the next day, and pre meet is not full speed. I was shocked with
Yeah.
how easy the hill was. But
Seriously?
that is a flaming hot take. No one agrees
Okay.
with me.
Yeah. Right. But where is it
So,
located in the course? Is it like 2 miles in?
um,
Maybe that's why it's so
so
difficult.
so you go up it twice, and you go up it once. I want to
Oh.
say right after the mile, and then a second time with like a K to go. And they all say with a K to go is when it kills, which makes sense because you're
Right.
like lactic at that point. Now the key, if we're spilling the tea, Manny, on how to win Foot Locker, if you
Yeah.
study previous races, almost every single champion either makes their move up the hill or on the downhill, because right after the uphill is this massively steep downhill. And throughout the
Yes.
years, people that use that momentum almost always win, because once you're at the bottom of the downhill, it's like, I want to say like 600 meters to go, 700
Oh,
meters
so
to
it's
go.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So
This is good
I
to
don't
know.
know. I think
This is
I
good to
think it's
know.
a hard hill, but I don't think. Yeah, I think if you run like the Kenosha Regional course, I think is harder. Probably that's
Gotcha.
again a hot take, but I don't think it's anything crazy. Because a
You
lot of
know,
these
I'll,
athletes
I'll
I
agree.
talk to like make this thing out to be like it's a mountain, and I'm like, I think you're just really tired with 2.5 miles in, and any hill would be hard. I don't
And
know.
maybe
That's a
there's
hot take though.
like some of those Texas kids or maybe California kids that don't really see that much of incline on their cross country races. I don't know. What
So
else?
win Foot Locker. We'll do another podcast. We'll close out this podcast series, the Colin Road to Balboa, and you can break it down for me. You can break
All
down the
right.
hill. Okay.
Not yeah.
Looking
Now I
back,
don't know what that's about.
yeah, looking back on previous winners, Drew Griffith, love the kid, so I'm glad he won, but he broke the streak of the Midwest. So I grew up in Ohio, so I'm like a Midwest boy. I cheer for the Midwest.
Gotcha.
And you look before Drew Griffith, Cole Matthiessen won in 2022. He's from Indiana. Riley Howe won in 2021. He's from Michigan. Year
Hmm.
before, Josh Methner won. He's from Illinois. Year before he won, a guy by the name of Cole Hawker won. He's from Indiana.
Oh, I didn't
The
know
year
about that.
before that, yeah, Dylan Jacobs won. He's from Illinois. So in the last 6 years, we've had 5 Midwest champions. How do you feel
Wow.
about the chances of bringing it home yet again to the Midwest?
Ooh. Feel like I gotta do something about that now. Like now I feel like I have to like win over there. But um like I said, I feel like we're just really tough with handling those rough courses. And yeah, and if what you're saying is correct, that hill is really challenging and it's probably abrupt and you face it 3 times, that's something that we do feel like a lot in our off national course races, in our school season. Um, but that's kind of a really cool thing to hear that so many Midwesterns have won nationals over there, and honestly, maybe a little bit of motivation for me to see what I can do and just keep that streak going.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Speaking on that list of winners, so I mentioned Cole Hawker, Olympic champion.
Yeah,
Year before him,
it's
Dylan
crazy.
Jacobs, who won the NCAA title. He now runs for On. 2 years before that, 2014, 2013, so he won back-to-back years, was a man by the name of Grant Fisher. He doubled at the Olympics. And then the year
Yes,
before that, the 2 years before that, were Edward Cheserek, who was like undoubtedly the greatest, well, maybe not undoubtedly, one of the greatest NCAA
right.
runners of all time. And then you go like way back in time, you got a guy by the name of Dathan Ritzenhein. He won back-to-back years. Foot Locker is full of history. What does it mean to you to run this event, and what would it mean to etch your name in the storybooks? Because it seems there's a crazy trend of the winner going on to do some big things in the sport.
Wow, I was not aware of how far back Foot Locker went. That is crazy, and I was not aware that so many of these Olympians and pro athletes were at that same race. So yeah, if I can race there and get first, get top two even, I think it just shows that I can possibly do what these great athletes have done. Griffin and then Cole Hawker, like I mean, they're one of the best in the nations right now, and or even the world right now. And so to be, oh, that's so cool to be on the same course that they once were on. That's a cool thing to hear. But yeah, I think that would just be kind of an honor, and just shows that we're all progressing in the right area. Then, if we're kind of doing the same thing that these great athletes were doing. But yeah, I was not aware that so many of these great athletes were on that same course and won at that same event. So that's kind of exciting. Now I'm really glad that I'm planning on going to Foot Locker now.
Yeah, dude, it's sick. 45 years. This is the 45th year, so a
Oh
ton of
my
rich history,
goodness,
which
that
is
is
amazing.
sweet.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
sweet.
Closing out, wrapping up this conversation, Manny, for those who look up to you and all that you've accomplished within the sport, what would you say are a few lessons you've taken away from your career in terms of what it takes to be great at the sport of running?
Um, there's so many things, and I like getting that question because it's always hard to answer because I'm still learning right now, and there's always more to learn. But what I've learned a lot is just be patient, especially when it comes to being sick or injured, because I have dealt with a lot of tiny ones after my big injury, and it's just it's just good to know that if you take a few weeks or a few days, even a 1 week off as a distance runner, you're actually not gonna be degressing that much. It takes a long time for your aerobic system to completely like be at zero. So I think the biggest thing is to be patient. Don't panic if you have to stop running for a few days, because you'll get back on the track eventually. Um, and high school and middle school is not all that important. So don't take everything too seriously. Enjoy it as you go. Make friends. If you happen to be one of the best athletes on your team, say hi to the freshmen. Because they are definitely looking up at you. And any conversation you have with the freshmen is gonna stick with them when they are eventually seniors. So make memories with your whole team, and have fun with it, because even though I'm like one of the best on the team and I'm going to state. It's kind of a little
One
sad.
of the best, Manny. Come on.
One
I
of
know
the
you're
best.
humble, but
I mean, but like I was saying, like I'm one of the best, and I'm going to state by myself because there's no one else that made out on my team, and it feels kind of sad. And I'd almost rather want more people with me, even though I'll be going to state. It just feels a little sad just because I love my team that much, and I would rather them be on the same bus with me going to the meet. So just make good memories with your team, because taking it very seriously makes things not as enjoyable. And so it's a great feeling to have people that want to cheer you on, and have a lot of good friends that are on your team.
Manny, final question for you. The question I ask every single guest on every single episode. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you choose to make for him?
Oh my gosh. I would. Okay. I really like eggs, so I would absolutely make him one of my best eggs ever. And I really hope he doesn't throw it at my face because I know he's like a very picky guy. And if he doesn't like something, he'll let you know. But I think I would make him some of my best eggs ever. I just love making eggs. It's so satisfying cracking eggs and then waiting for it to be solid and all that. But yeah, hopefully he would love my eggs. And if not, it would still be a fun time with him anyway.
Well, Manny, thank you so much for taking the time to chat, chop it up, share your story,
No
insights from
problem.
your career, the whole 9 yards. Really appreciate it. Excited to see you crush it tomorrow, and excited to meet you. I guess I would say December 14th. I'll meet you before race day. Excited to hang in San Diego, and
Yeah,
I'll be again. I can't say this. I should be unbiased with this podcast series, but go Midwest. Midwest is the best. So I'll be rooting you on December 14th, man. Excited for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.